What's going on, everybody? Time for YouTube recap. This is going to be a big one with some in-depth confirmations. I'm going to try to get through this the best I can because I had a lot of questions on it. I'm going to cover two big trades, maybe three, tiny bit of predictions for the Powell dump as the weekly GPs were suggesting more downside. I really wanted to see up, but you know what it is. Holiday weekend. It's not a typical one. As we covered in my chat, the VIX is super high. The tariffs are even higher with the Trump tweets. So very hard to find that reasonable, same old holiday week feel. So let's get into it. On the X here, we did put out some funnies here on the Discord here, and I told you the retail wick would actually come up and fill a 1 minute gap, and I was just trolling around a little bit here. Don't trade the data, but I'm going to call data exactly before it happens. So I put on a little bit of a retail sales will pop to fill right here, and then it will short down to 18,637.79, the daily 50 fib that we needed to tag. So I assumed retail sales was going to pop up, come down. That was a prediction that we played here. I then posted it again, short under the GP before or right after it happened. Told you guys it would fill up to 18,713 and then fill down right to 18,6378. So let's get into it. Don't trade data. Okay, that is a gamble. Just because some of the algo systems that I use and can work out do work out, it's still not a great trade. Okay, so just disclaimer there. Just because we can predict it sometimes, definitely not always, it's where the algos are positioned. Okay, so I'll show you right here the 7:30 a.m. data. That was a little bit of retail sales. Okay, we had a very small candle that was getting held down by this beautiful downtrend of the 200 SMA 5 minute. That's something that we had noticed early. And then when we drop it down into the 1 minute chart here, we had multiple 1 minute gaps. Okay, so you know me, and if you watch this channel, I'm very big on these little guys here, these 1 minute gaps. We have a little indicator that shows you where these 1 minute gaps appear in between the slice candles. Those are going to come into play here for the retail sales. Okay, so I fibbed out the high low of retail sales and I pointed it to the downside because we predicted it was going to come right down to that 50 GP. Okay. But before that happened, I figured we had to pop up and fill the algo. That's why we predicted retail the way we did. We had this little sliver gap made. We had ran down away from it, shied it. I'm always yelling at you guys at this channel, which means the price action came up, did not close that gap, shied away from the close, came back down, and then returned after retail sales as per pretty much our guess. It's not a perfect prediction. So at that candle right here, that's when the retail came out. Took about 2 minutes, came up and filled that algo like we suggested, and then straight down because, let's face it, I trade algorithmic systems and these algos have personalities. The gaps are just the small cracks in the personality that I can read here, and that's what I teach to read because algos are just a personality. They have all sorts of algorithms. This is a computer-traded scenario. The whole markets are computer-traded scenario. I highly suggest you pay attention to what the computers tell you. So as we got that filling down, we also had a 50 tag that was still not done. Okay, so a 50 tag is a GP that we needed to come down to, right? We'll go off of that right here to some of these other zones and other candles. So on the daily chart, we had this dude. I'm gonna delete some of these fibs looking crazy here. They're all duplicated. We had this guy 411, okay? And we talked about 411 right here 2 YouTube videos ago. We talked about it right here. And we said this halfway candle, if we start to fail 19,100, QQQ, same spot, SPY, same spot, we're going to come down to the golden pocket of 411. We put a video out on that. So if you take this 411 and you do the high-low like always, this is, for today, a no-tag GP. So that is where I got the 50 target from, again, mixed with, you'll see it here, the 2618 of the 1 minute candle. So as we came into this trade right here, here's the 5 minute outlook, getting under that 5 minute 200 SMA. Here's the 1 minute fib. If you look at that 1 minute fib, it's on the way down to the 50, the golden pocket, right? So that golden pocket that was slammed into here, that's the top of the golden pocket, right? 61.8, the center of that golden pocket still had to be tagged on the daily. Okay, so 2 instances were very large right here when we came back into that trade saying, hey, we need to come down. So when we were on that 1 minute chart and we predicted the little pop to drop there, that was because of the Fibby. When we drop it down to the 1 minute, you'll see what I'm talking about as well. Just wanted to see that 200. So look to your left. We had the mega squeeze, rando 3 a.m. open stock. No tags of this 50. Look to your right, 18,470.63. That's the daily. But if you look at some of these overlapping, we just wanted to get down to that 2618. And then we also had another GP overlap there, but we don't need to place that one. So on the way down, we came down, killed that whole thing, and then finally market open. Then I predicted a long at market open to the GP. Okay, well, we predicted news, had a beautiful 5K a day, comes down. How did we know it was going to peak up, park up, whatever you want to call it, go up at the open? So why did it peak right up to the upside at the open? Trade number 2, pay attention to these confirmations here, okay? So as we came in, this was another high-low day, okay? Why are we not on our lessons tab? Here we go. So what I like to see is golden pocket and prior day use fibs. Let's look at our gold fibs, which are always going to be the high-low of the prior day, okay? Yesterday's highs, yesterday's lows. Pointed to the downside, 1618. We clearly have a gap down. Yesterday's lows is this little dashed blue line, 536.82. Clearly price action in the pre-market is under that. So we know that pre-market opening to live, it's a gap down, right? So when that opens up, we hit the 1618, but this was a tiny little scalp. And what do you know about magnets and me and algos? We always use them the prior day, first tag and shy, right? So we didn't get any shies. We had got the magnet tag. What is a magnet? Well, yesterday's Fibonacci in the gold right here, put an extension right there. Let me get this a little cleaner and just clean this up a second. So we can go over our red trade and green trade and everything else today. There we go. That golden magnet, because there was no tag of the 1618. So clearly this high low from yesterday pointed to the downside. The 1618 would be first tag. And that means all this pre-market 1.6 pop, all this gnarly crazy stuff doesn't mean anything until live, right? So we called the pop, we called the short on retail, it comes down, 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 down. But where is the price action in pre? Now zoom in, pay attention what we got here. Pre to live, okay? Look at this section. This 1618 right here has never been tagged. That needs a first tag from yesterday's high low. The price action is down here at this low, and I said long right out of the gate. I told I'm buying right here, I'm buying right here, I'm long out of the gate. That's what I told my crew, because we need to magnet back to a first tag of the 1618, right? So we longed the open and ran this baby 14 points on ES to the upside, because 1.42 on SPY equals 14 points on ES, and that's what we do. We trade futures, right? So as we got that magnet, that's the play. That was it. I knew it was going to come up. Statistically, I had a great chance. I shouldn't say no, but I felt it, right? We knew we were going to have a statistical advantage to come up to the 1618 that needed that tag. Let's go over a couple different other trades intraday that we put on. And we had a fun little reverse and death. We'll go to the 15. I think it was on Qs actually. So we're going to go to QQQ. Yeah, QQQ, because the VIX is coming down, 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 down. So we had some opportunity to see. It actually should be coming up, up, up right now. But all right, so we had the opportunity to trade some QQQs, okay? Long scalp over the 10 SMA. Let's delete some of this stuff and trade the first 15. Okay, so this is what I like to do here nowadays. Let's fib all this out, and this is going to be the same jam, okay? There's no difference between the SPY and the QQQ, which means we have yesterday's high-low gold we'll start with right here. Boom, boom. We have that big old squeeze in the pre. We go to the live, but we're on the 15-minute chart. And this is where one of the reds happened, but it was more or less a red because of my colostomy bag. Went to the bathroom, and I have a stage 3 colorectal cancer, so I'm dealing with a colostomy bag, and we had to do a little change in function clean there. So I had to run out, and I just left the trade because that's more important at the time. I thought it was going to be a quick one. It was not. No big deal. So the opening 15 high-low range on the QQQ here is going to be the main focus for Fibbies, okay? So that opening range dropped all the way back down. Then we retraced up to that pocket, and we just kind of dabbled around. But one thing you got to... Geez, this indicator sucks. Hide. Jesus. Hide. What is in my way here? Hide. Hide. Okay. It doesn't want to hide. Okay. Think or swim junk. All right. Where was I? The shy. Okay. One thing for the push up on the Powell. I want to go over two things here for the QQQ trade, and we'll go back to SPY. I was trading Qs on this 15-minute opening range to the downside, and I seen this shy. Then we mentioned that shy comes all the way back up for a fib box fill, okay? And something I want to talk about just real quick are the two shies that we had seen this morning with that 15-minute. So the downside, we shied the 1618. If we fibbed out the high low of the 15, we pointed to the downside. We should have hit 44713. We shied it. So if you zoom in real close to that 15-minute candle, we did not hit it. If you look above you, that 1618, that opening morning rush back up on the SPY we just covered, that hit its 1618 from yesterday's high low, hit right away. QQQ did not. So that rubber band effect comes into play where you got a high low each one. So I kind of seen this one coming, and this is how we reverse the NQ trade from the red on SPY, because this NQ trade right here that saved the day from the $1,500 red that I took, it was because of this 1618 shy. That was my confident entry to come back to that 1618. We only use the inside fib box, but all the way back to that 1618, that still needed a tag, okay? So let's look at why on the SPY we had a little bit of that reversal short. We're going to stick to the 15, right? We're going to fib out that down. Boom, boom. And this is where the red incurred, okay? Let's delete this real quick, clean it up. So same exact thing, 15-minute high low to the downside. What do we see right here? That looks like a pretty good tag. So when a 15-minute fib completes down to the 1618, generally we return back to the 100. That is our rule. So if we fib out a box and the extension is hit, in this case it is the 1618, generally you have a more higher probability chance, and there's some conditions that apply, but a high probability chance to return to the 100 before making a choice to continue up or down. It's just a back test, right? Confirmation, nothing goes in a straight line. But if you look super close, this is where my short got reversed. I was short here going for pre-market low. So the colostomy bag said, hey man, I got to get cleaned up and we're all jacked up, brother. So we cannot get over that under that 1618. We're going to return to the 100. Well, why did we return to the 100? We already did that. Well, I didn't even notice this, but if you zoom in super close to the 1 penny, 0.56, 0.57, the low of that 15, if you look on TOS, it'll tell you the low candle, 531.57, and the high of this candle, 531.56. It missed each other by a penny. And this is where the red came from. I did not get an absolute back test of the 15-minute low open. So the first 15-minute candle right here, I thought we came down to the 1618 hit, returned to, and then I was shorting back down because that was the probability to return to the pre-market low. Look at this rejection candle on the 15. You're looking great here, man. We had a big rejection under the 10. We came back, tested the 100 after, but lo and behold, unbeknownst to me, if you zoom in, microscopic, that sucker actually didn't hit. So we took a little red. So I had to go to the restroom. I just left it because I thought, oh, for sure, we're good to go. This is complete algo, yada, yada, yada. I came back. She was way up here. Okay, well, no big deal. $1,500 red. How did I change that back up? We'll go over the last trade of the day on how I deleted that $1,500 red and came back to a 5K green. The 1618 tag was done, but the 100 never was tagged. So that means this flush into the 1618 caused a big old back test up, up, and away. Now let's go to NQ, because this was the keys to the rest of the day here, okay? The NQ told the story. So let's go back down to the 1-minute chart, and I'll show you guys how I got out of all that little red and how I knew the pop was coming. So remember gaps from the first part of the video. We talked about having two there, right? And then we had the data. So here's that first gap, popped the retail sales we called to the downside, golden pocket of the weekly, also a very big deal we'll cover right now. And the other, where is it? Oh, I overlapped it with this. The other gap right here. So this gap on the 1 minute. So we have the one gap right here pretty much on the 50 weekly, and then we had one gap here. And before I left, I told my crew, I was like, hey, you know, we gotta pay attention to this gap that's still open. We might actually fill that before anything Powell. And it was funny because, you know, that's what we covered in chat. I said, just keep an eye. It's not a call. It's not a trade call. I'm not an alert service. I teach people to keep in mind certain levels for certain reasons. Well, there's a 1 minute gap on that algo system there. So she came all the way down here, popped back up, filled that algo to the perfection, and down she went for the Powell. Well, how did I get out of that red? Because I got that red on ES. Well, we came back to NQ. I noticed this one candle. This is my saving grace, okay? This 1 minute candle, 843. I noticed that it had no GP. That means when you take the high low of any candle, I don't care what time frame, you put the fibs to the downside, and you notice that it was never tagged. So this candle developed right here, 8:43 a.m. Central. I did a high low, and then I noticed there was no fib tag. You got to zoom in quite far to notice it, but it's there, okay? So as we got that 1 minute all pinned out. And I was like, oh man, the MACD is kind of rolling back up. We're getting that higher low in RSI, higher low right on the 3618, my favorite recovery fib. And then I noticed it and I was like, holy cow, there is no golden pocket tag. The price action is going to come magnet right to the golden pocket. So what did I do? Well, I went long at the 100 EMA and scalped her up about 50 some points, 2 contracts, made over $2,000 and brought it back to a healthy $500 green on that last account from the 100 EMA to the GP. Now, that no tag GP was very specific. This candle is very, very unique. Why is that? Not only is this 1 minute candle touching the 200 SMA in the peach, the 100 EMA in the green right here, right? The 10 SMA, but it also hits the opening price 18,667. That's a good one to always watch for as well. So when it cycled the fib, so I talk a lot about recycling Fibonacci on this channel as well. And this is what that looks like. This 1 minute candle cycled the 1618, 2618, 3618, ding, right to the 423.60, recycle back up over the 3, 2, confirm strength, 100, golden pocket, okay? It recycled that 1 minute all the way down to go all the way back to the top. So that's how we deleted that red, because of that shy on the 15 SPY, that little bugger. All right, last but not least, the Powell outlook. I wanted up, but we had more confirmation down than up. Let's talk about it for the last little piece. The Powell man. I wanted to see the holiday week come up, but when I went on stream and I was talking to my live chat in the Discord and the stream, we talked about the weekly. And what I like to do is I have last week's GPs a lot of the time on tag watch. So here's this week, here's last week, so on and so forth. Let's move the last week, which is the prior, not last week, last, I should say. And we move this to here because we always use the multiple weeklies. You always want to keep those overlapped. They're always in teal for me. So when we put this weekly right here, this is this week, right? This is last week, and we're fibbing out last week's high-low. That gives us the golden pocket of 38.20 to 61.8 being 18,268, 17,576. And then on stream, I said, oh, well, we only have 2 options for Powell. He's either going to run it up to the top weekly right here and fill that and then probably go down, or he's just going to dump it and it's going to go to the GP. Well, that's why it's the golden pocket. The same thing I do on a high-low fib range, the same thing I do on a daily, everyday, high-low, gold, use the golden pocket and extensions for first tags. Everything you just learned in the first part of this recap, it still applies on the weekly, always, okay? So when the Powell man came in, we opened up here for the week, right? It's Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is all developed inside this weekly candle. And as it went down, let's go to the daily, might be a little easier to see. We're going to keep obviously that weekly there, but look at that. So here's the start of the week, right? Here's 11 to 14 to 11, 11, 14, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, stick with me. Last week's high-low was that range. And because we opened up and never came up to here, that was the only reason we could see a pop to drop, but we dropped right off. That is the magnet. So you imagine this last week's Fibonacci, the golden pocket is a magnet pulling that price action down towards it, right? I know, best magnet ever, lightning bolts or however magnets work. So as they come into that magnet, that golden pocket weekly was sucking the price action down, right? And if we couldn't break out of the Trumpster big pump candle, biggest candle ever, and then this consolidation flag, to grab higher lows, which we were grabbing higher lows, the catalyst that we called was Powell. We even said that we'd probably get a crappy Monday, Tuesday chop, which we did, and we finally got some volatility today. That's why we said in our chat, in our premium group, downside. And of course, it was leaned more to the downside. I wanted to see the up. I was really hoping for it, but as I said, not a trade call, most likely down because of the weekly golden pocket magnet. All right. Well, if you ever want to see me narrate this stuff live, we post tons of perspective day trades in our Discord, all the explanations, my profit losses, live real-time entry exits, all that stuff. But I'm not an alert service. That is for teaching practices only. So when you come into some of this stuff here in the Discord, please don't think it's alert service. There's no such thing as an alert service. That is the craziest thing in the world. If you zoom in real close here, these are some of the things that we post in the journal where you come in and that we had this big monster candle today that just had that big breakout. So I did a high-low Fibonacci move on it. I told everybody that this price action would be breaking down to the fib range. This is a short that I played at like 5 something in the morning and called all through Discord. And I put all these markers showing you why the exit was going to be down here at GP from the 1618 up here. So why the resistance was there, label everything, even give you the back tested confirmations and why these algos create these magnets for every Fibonacci, VWAP, and moving average. So it's a lot to learn. It's a lot to take in, but I can get you learned up. So if you want to trade with me live, we have a link in the description. if you want to win a Top Step account, we give away $50 to $100 every Saturday during our live classes, noon Central Time on this channel. You can join us. Make sure to sub, send us a like, and drop a comment, because I use a comment picker every Saturday to give away 50 or 100 bucks. You don't got to use it as a Top Step account for a funded account. You could take your wife out for dinner, like I always say, get a tank of gas, hit up the grocery store. I don't care. It's a free 50 bucks for you. You guys take care, trade safe. We'll see you then.